Financial mistakes. We've all made them. You get so excited to make a purchase that you don't even think about how to look when you have company over. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, big or small, digital or physical, but they all take your money away. Hello, I am Lufa, and today we're going to talk about impulse buys. To help distinguish the different types of impulse buys, I've made a pyramid of 3 distinct tiers. The first one is the small impulse buy. These are your candy bars, your card packs, your I gotta see what Prime tastes like purchases. They're not going to really be dangerous on their own, and if you buy something like an Among Us pop at one time, it's not going to do that much damage. In fact, if you get dopamine from the purchase and you're happy, you've actually done a good job by treating yourself without losing too much money. But the problem with small impulse buys is that they are usually followed by more. They're like those ants in Indiana Jones who aren't bad on their own, but when they get together, things get really bad. The worst part is you hardly notice them adding up. You buy one little thing here, another there, and the more you do, the easier it gets. I'm not going to buy that piece of furniture. That's way too big a purchase to justify right now. The worst part is they're pretty addictive because you get that instant gratification without feeling like you lost anything. And so it just becomes this habit that's really hard to break. It's one of the things that stops a lot of people from saving up for things they actually want because their bank account is basically just always leaking into these little gas station trip funds. All those little trinkets and doodads aren't a threat alone, but together, yikes. They very might as well be the most dangerous tier in this video. But let's get into the second one. The medium impulse buy. This is the second tier of impulse buys when things really start to ramp up. This is your $20 skin in Apex you happened to buy right before you lost all interest in the game. It's that shirt you fell in love with, and let's just say that the $10 shipping jump scare did not break your devotion to it. These are obviously more expensive than the small impulse buys, and their range is pretty big. These ones are definitely going to be more common online due to their bigger scale as well as just the amount of dumb things you can buy. With the small tier, that's like where your physical $5 and $10 go that you should really be putting into the Disneyland jar. But with medium impulse buys, that's going to be where things start getting a lot more digital. Because you have a card, at least for me, it's much easier to part with money. I know some people find it easier to part with physical money, but if you're like me, it really comes down to the convenience. That's going to be your downfall. Because if you've connected to all these websites, like if you've connected your card to Steam, you're always just going to be 3 or 2 or even 1 click away from getting whatever you want. I think people with Amazon Prime have an even bigger struggle with this, because it's really convenient to buy stuff there, and that doesn't even count for the subscription cost, which is a whole nother can of worms. All these monthly subscriptions we have. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how we sort of decided that convenient purchases were a good idea, because they're definitely not. Companies love to pitch to us like, oh my gosh, all you have to do is click one time and boom, $20 disappear for a 5-second high. Isn't that so convenient? Like, yeah, it's definitely convenient for you guys when my brain doesn't even have a chance to rationalize before I click that shiny button. You know, we as humans are naturally attracted to the colorful, shiny things. So when you combine that with convenience, it's making it really difficult to be smart. At least for me. I'm sure some of you have that mental fortitude, that self-discipline where you've never ever bought something outside of the wooden planks and stone you purchased from Home Depot to build your own lodge in the mountains and hunt wild mice with a harpoon gun, while the rest of us purchase a thing called a battle pass. I wouldn't really say that like a medium buy is a bad thing in general. The thing about the medium impulse buy is that it is more uncommon than the small. So it might not be as frequent, and it's not going to always be bad. The worst thing about medium impulse buys is that there's definitely a similar pitfall that people fall into with small impulse buys. And that involves the very same mindset. Oh, you know, one $20 purchase there, one $30 purchase there. You start getting to some pretty dangerous territory. But don't worry, you won't be in there for long, because you won't be able to afford it. And finally, we have the third tier. You probably could have guessed which one it was, considering the sort of fast food ordering option meta we got going here. The one that really hurts your soul and haunts you for decades. That is the large impulse buy. Now we've shed some light on the smaller and medium impulse buys, and those ones are pretty dangerous, and I'm glad we could talk about them. But the large impulse buy is no doubt the most serious, and we're not even going to say dangerous at this point. We're going to say deadly to not just your wallet, but also your pride. These can range anywhere from $70 to infinite. There is no ceiling to these. These are your Jordans, your VR headsets. If you're having a midlife crisis, it could be a jet ski. These are the most infamous purchases, and more than anything else, they come with a weight of shame. Being vulnerable as a big creator who's been around here for a long time, I'm sure it could really help you guys to know that I'm not perfect. I know, absolute shocker. That's why I'm going to share 2 impulse buys that I made, and all that I ask is that you keep an open mind. I'm like Batman leading you guys out from the darkness of Squishmallows. The first one, like many of you can probably relate to, was during quarantine. And I had just finished watching the Star Wars prequels for the first time in my life. And I was like, amazed, as somebody who watches The Revenge of the Sith for the first time, and I was like, I want to be a Jedi. Like anybody with an imagination would, or any sense of childlike wonder. I wanted to be just like Obi-Wan. I wanted to be a Jedi like Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I bought Battlefront 2 and I played it. But I was like, this is not enough. I need to have a lightsaber because that would be so cool. And so I went online and I was looking through them. And there were all these colors, and the lightsaber is currently sitting in the corner of my room gathering dust. You probably thought I was going to talk about the story or the process of that buy, but yeah, there was no process. I just wanted to demonstrate how sudden and dangerous the large impulse buy can be. It sweeps you off your feet before you even know what happened. Now, is a model scale replica of a lightsaber the worst impulse buy in the world? No, I don't think so. A lightsaber is pretty cool. It's nice. At least it was for 5 minutes. After swinging around, I got bored, so it was actually definitely a bad buy. And in my impulsiveness, I also didn't research enough and got probably the worst lightsaber brand I could. Basically, every time I swing it, the batteries inside fly out and it just shuts off no matter how much tape I wrap around them. So a lightsaber isn't going to be the worst large impulse buy in the world. At least that's what I tell myself. And no shame to you if you bought one. We're literally in the same boat. But the second impulse buy is it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. It was when I was thinking of being a music artist, so I bought a copy of FL Studio. And then literally 3 months later, my passion changed from music to content creation, so I haven't used the license since. I also didn't think very long when I bought that one. That makes the lightsaber story look great in comparison. Also because lightsabers are still just pretty cool to have. But when it comes to FL, I haven't made music in months, and I really wish I could have that money back. I still have the license for life if I ever want to make music, but I'm just way more passionate about YouTube now, so I think that ship has sailed. But yeah, just like the lightsaber, it's not really the worst thing to buy. I think a lot of people, when they think of a large impulse buy, they just think of something grand and crazy and useless like a $300 gnome, but that kind of thing doesn't actually really happen. What happens most of the time is that people make large purchases while underestimating how long they'll use them. And realistically, those are going to be the more common large purchases, just stuff that you were once interested in, but end up being a waste. The good news is that I have advice on how to combat these impulse buys at every tier. I would say for the first tier, you're just going to want to try and be more conscious of how many little purchases you make in a week. Try writing them all down in your notes app so when you make them, you'll be able to keep track of just how much money you're spending. You'll probably be way less likely to buy them once you start doing that because you're going to notice more and more just how much money they're actually making you lose, and you won't want to do them as much. You don't have to go completely cold turkey. I love buying some M&Ms. You just have to be conscious of them. So yeah, just try to be aware because if you don't think about these purchases, they will make your money disappear. For the second tier, I would say, especially since these are often more digital, disconnect from all those convenient purchasing options. Like disconnect your card from whatever you're most vulnerable to making an impulse buy for. That way, if you get the urge to buy a skin or something, you have to actually go to your wallet and hold the card in your hand as you type in each number. It's going to make it less likely for you to make these purchases because you actually have some time to process the decision and actually somewhat feel the money leaving your account in the transaction. If you're buying stuff digitally, think about the last thing you've bought and if you've gotten more than 5 hours of enjoyment out of it. If you haven't, then you probably shouldn't be buying something else. Also, just think about the actual time it took to earn that money. If you work retail, I always just think about it like this. Is this really worth 2 hours of dealing with Karens? If you decide it is, then it's not even an impulse buy at that point because you rationalized and you decided it was worth it. But yeah, definitely want to get yourself out of the clutches of all those easy ways to spend money, because if you distance yourself from them, you will at the very least prolong how long it takes you to buy something, which is good because you have that time to think. For the third tier, I would say this one seems obvious, but don't buy the $300 gnome, even if it would complement your lavender. $300 is just too much for a gnome if you don't collect them. The gnome here is really just a metaphor for any large purchase that you haven't researched long enough to justify. If you do want to buy something but you're not sure if you can justify it, definitely just talk to your friends about it or maybe even your partner. I know, crazy idea, but definitely consult some people. Make sure the people you're consulting will be honest and tell you, hey man, I know you really want that $1,000 designer jacket, but maybe a simple hoodie can get the job done. Plus, you're also broke. It's kind of a paradox because the idea of an impulse buy in the first place is that you didn't think about it. You just bought it. So if you really do take this advice and save your money, you're not really going to be justifying impulse buys as much as you'll just be making buys, which is a good thing to do. It's important to reward yourself and celebrate your hard work with self-care, and shopping is a serious form of self-care for a lot of people. As long as you're conscious of your purchases, you can save a lot of money and, more important, regret. A lot of people say waiting before you make the purchase is a good practice, but I don't think it's enough. You need to think critically because even if you do wait 2 to 3 months before buying something, it might still be impulsive if you're not real with yourself about if you really need it. The plot twist truth about that lightsaber story is that I actually did think about it for 2 months before I bought it, but I didn't really think about the purchase during that time. I just waited so I'd feel better. There's also another tip I have, which is that there's actually something you can do right now to get all that spontaneous energy out of you. A total impulse buy without losing any money. Simply hit that subscribe button. It's free, and you can unsubscribe anytime you want. Thank you for watching. I'm Lufa.